Hi, Scott State Building Company here. Thanks for joining us. What we're going to be discussing today is a little bit about making your home energy efficient, how to save you money with the proper products. We're going to start it off with windows, and we're going to use we'll just start off by using the double hung windows. This is a mastic window, and this is a polar seal window. This is our premium line. I really don't want to confuse nobody, so we'll keep it brief and simple on the important factors when you're looking at replacement windows for your home. There is some important things when shopping for windows. So once again, we'll just try to keep this as simple as possible and not try to confuse anybody. What I have here is two cut windows. A lot of our competition uses this window right here. The window that we use out of Grand Rapids by Polar Seal is this window. And we'll start with the cut view, and you can see a lot of the competition's window, the vinyl is thinner than the Polar Seals. The thinner the material, the thinner the vinyl. Obviously, when it gets cold quicker and transfers from the outside of your home to the inside. Not only that, air chambers. The more air chambers that you can gain from the outside to the interior of your home, each chamber gets warmer and warmer before it comes into your home. So the more chambers, the thicker the vinyl, obviously the better. With Polar Seal, looking from the outside, not only that, just the thickness of the frames itself, 3 5/8 versus 2 9/16. This allows us, with the thicker chamber and the thicker frames, to add more chambers where we can get 5 or 6 chambers from the exterior to the interior and a much thicker vinyl. Thicker the vinyl dissipates the cold coming through. So by the time the cold hits the outside and comes to the inside, we're substantially warmer on the inside with this window. Next off is what's called the super spacer. A spacer, every window has a spacer because today we always have double pane glass, or you should have double pane glass by now. But there's a difference. In between the panes of glass, you have what's called a spacer bar. This window here, which most people sell today, has what's called an aluminum spacer bar. Being in Michigan, when it's really cold outside and say 0 degrees and 70 in your house, we all know that aluminum conducts. And when it conducts, it creates a lot of moisture on the inside of your windows. Not only that, the aluminum spacer bar is cold. It's just very cold. So whatever's outside, you're getting on the inside edge of your glass. So cold and moisture buildup from condensation. Polar Seal, between the panes of the glass, uses a silicone foam air product that's very flexible. And it's a piece of silicone, almost like a piece of rubber. It's very flexible. And when that goes in and is double glued to the inside pane and the outside pane, as we're showing here, and it doesn't conduct because there is no aluminum whatsoever in between the panes of glass. In the whole window, for that matter, there is no aluminum. It's hard to find that today. But the super spacer is a warm edge. It's the warmest edge on the market of any spacer bar between the panes of glass. Polar Seal also uses a double strength insulated glass. It's made in Canada. So for Canada, we use it here in Michigan as well, where a lot of the competition is single strength glass. And as you can see here, we almost have to put something on the edge because it will cut you. And the single thick glass contours and concaves, and you can almost see it sometimes if you're paying attention to windows as you're out and about, where the double strength glass stops at. Low E glass. There's more than just low E. Everybody says, does your window have low E? Yes, my window has low E. What the general public might want to ask is, what type of low E do you have? Because you have a choice. Most people don't know this. The standard low E, most competition, is going to be a soft coat low E. And the difference between a soft coat low E versus Polar Seal's hard coat low E In Michigan, we want a hard coat low E because it actually has a lot more solar heat gains and allows more warmth into your home on winter days. With sunshine, it really warms up a room. The soft coat low E does a lot more of just reflecting the natural sunlight, the natural warmth that you can get out of it. So with a hard coat low E, in winter conditions, 0 degrees outside and 70 inside, it has an R value of up to an R19 in the glass itself, which is unheard of. Glass in Michigan having an R value of R19. So the proper low E is very important. Trying to keep this as simple as possible, not to confuse anybody. Also, some more important things is weather stripping. You really wouldn't think much about a weather stripping. If you look at a Polar Seal's weather stripping, you can actually see it as black. And I get asked that a lot. Why do you have black? Everybody else that come in had white, which this mastic has the white weather stripping. And it might look better for a minute, but you know, everything gets dirty, and once that weather stripping gets dirty in a year or two, now you're going to have your white weather stripping is going to be brown or gray, dirt colored, where the black don't show. Not only that, Polar Seal has what's called, it's ultrasonically welded to the back of the weather stripping, where most every company has just piled weather stripping. And it's a very simple test. If you get multiple contractors coming in your home and pushing their window, which is fine, I would recommend to grab their weather stripping anywhere on the window with your finger and your thumb and pull on it and see how much comes off. You'd be surprised, there's a lot of it. With the ultrasonically welded weather stripping by Polar Seal, you can pull on it all you want and it's not going to come out. So that's there for life. A lot of these windows really count on weather stripping to stop air drafts. Where Polar Seal has actually engineered and made things better to where we're not really counting on so much weather stripping to keep the cold out. A couple more key things, moving on from weather stripping. I want to go to what's called a interlock system. Standard double hungs would tend to normally have interlock systems. With the Polar Seal's interlock system, I'm not sure if you can see this on camera, but when this sash here has an interlock system here, and there's an interlock system on the top sash, when this sash closes and we pull them together, they interlock a full 3/8 of an inch. In other words, when that sash closes, it comes down, they're going to lock together 3/8 of an inch. This window here is a 1/4 inch at best as an interlock system, which an interlock system is very important when the wind is hitting that, keeping the breeze out of the house. This one at best has a 1/4 inch interlock system. Not only that, if you can see this, they have to cut out their interlock system on their bottom sash so the latch itself will actually lock both sashes together. So we have a 1/4 inch interlock system versus a 1/2 inch. They have to cut out where their latches are. Polar Seals does not. It's one continuous interlock system from the edge of the sash to the edge of the sash. This one is a good 1/4 inch away from the sash, and we got a good 1.5 inches cut out of the interlock system right here in the middle so it can latch here. And they have a lot of stockpile weather stripping here, so when it closes where the weather stripping's cut, it hopefully stops the cold air from coming in. And it may for a while, but this will mat down, and not being ultrasonically welded, it will come out, and it will over time let a lot of drafts in. Uh-oh. So that's the interlock system. That's one of the more important things when it comes to double hung windows, since everybody likes the convenience of the top sash swinging in, is the interlock. That's very important. The next thing we're going to get to is what's called a pocket sill versus a slope sill. If we look on the outside of this window, you see there's an angle here that stops the wind from blowing in almost creating 190-degree angle to stop the wind from coming in. And the bottom of the sash has this piece of bead weather stripping that when the window closes, we're counting on that bead weather stripping to stop the outside wind from getting in. That's called a slope sill. Polar Seal offers what's called a pocket sill. So basically the difference is we got a sloped, we have a sash that comes down, sits on the bottom, and we're counting on the weather stripping to stop the wind from coming in. With a pocket sill, they have created a pocket, literally, that the top sash will close down into. And when the top sash closes down into this pocket sill, we have an outside 90-degree angle stopping the wind, and we also have that same interior 90 as they do. So we have a pocket that has two 90-degree angles that really stops the air. Once again, not sure if you can see this, but we have a 90-degree angle here, and we have a 90-degree angle here. And our weather stripping so much isn't on the bottom, it's on the edges. So when it goes down into that pocket sill, it seals off any air infiltration coming in that way. So we have a nice pocket to stop air infiltration. And standard with Polar Seal is an aluminum screen versus most of the competitions will have nylon screens. I'm sure a lot of you folks have seen over time with wind and different things, over time this nylon will stretch, and once it stretches it tends to sag and droop and not hold up. The aluminum screen tend to dent or scratch easily, but when Polar Seal ships a window, they ship the screen separately, and our installers will put them in at the end. But once they're in, they're there permanent, they will never sag, they will never fade, and they will never droop. So if you was to call State Building Company and told us to bring your best window, we're going to bring the window that's made in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it's made for Michigan, to your home. The reason why, still today, this window is the most efficient window that we can find on the market. We've been selling Polar Seal windows for 25 plus years now. I have a lot of people coming in trying to get me to push their window, which I'm open to listen to. And I have listened to many, but yet has one proven to me that it's going to outperform this Polar Seal window. It's still, to me, the most premium window on the market up against any window manufacturer that I've seen. So basically I could go on and confuse you, but when it comes down to double hung windows, the most important things is the proper low E glass, which we can offer either or for you. If you have a lot of southern exposure windows and you don't want all them solar heat gains, we can go ahead and transfer it over to the other painted glass and make it soft coat, which will stop a lot of heat from coming in. But where you want it, we can give it to you. So we have options on low E glass. That interlock system where the two sashes interlock in together is extremely important. When you have somebody in your house and they're showing you their display, make sure you open this up and you look, and make sure you get yourself a 1/2-inch interlock system. Make sure that interlock system is not cut out for the latches, and make sure it goes all the way to the end of the sash and not just piled up with weather stripping, counting on that to keep the cold out. And then we got, we talked to low E, we talked to interlock system. The next important thing I would say would be that sill. We don't in Michigan want to count on a slope sill and a piece of weather stripping to keep out the cold. I mean, why not just go ahead and put that pocket sill in there and that sash closes in and it's actually wrapped right around it and giving you 2 90-degree angles to keep that cold out. So once again, if you're going to call State Building Company and want us to do a replacement window job for you, we're definitely going to bring the Michigan-made Polar Seal window. We've been using it for many years and we're very, very happy with it. Maybe the next time we'll bring in some different types of windows. We got, we've got the sliders, you got the casements and everything else, but these are very popular because everybody wants to be able to tilt in and clean it, and it's a nice feature. And also when we get into the sliders, you'll see what Polar Seal has to offer that's really, really cool is instead of the slider opening up and having to lift out your sash to clean it and put it back in, Polar Seal has designed a slider window that's like a double hung where you can actually hit the latches and swing them in and clean them and close them. It's a really nice feature, but we'll get onto that some other time. So that's it for today on the windows. We're going to take a little break, but we will be back to talk about some insulation for your home and what type of insulation that you need for your home to save you. We're going to be moving on. I'm going to show you what we know about insulation, what types of insulation and where you're going to use them and why you're going to use them. I'm going to show you how to save yourself a lot of money. And not only that, we can save you a lot of money in energy costs using the proper material. We've been insulating homes for 60 years, and we started out with insulation and we used cellulose insulation, and that was in 1955. Still today, we are using that product. It's still the best product on the market to get your money back. When we do estimates and people are using different products or blown fiberglass, not only can I give you a better product and save you more money each month on that heating cost, I can most likely every single time beat the competition on price. So we're talking about cellulose. It's a very friendly product to the environment. There's no man-made products. It's all natural. There's no waste and no chemicals within this product. It's very friendly and very non-health hazardous to you in any way. When you want to save some money in your attic space and you look up there, with your attic space, you can lose up to 37 or 40% of your heat loss up through your attic. That's the biggest loss, the biggest amount of money where you're spending it. Today you're going to want somewhere in the R49 or greater of R value. We can achieve that as simple as 12 to 14 inches, and if you already have an R19 or an R11, we can do that with 8 or 10 inches because our cellulose has an R value and R rating of 3.8 for every inch that we put in. Standard cellulose is going to be about a 3.6. Blown fiberglass ranges from 2.2, 2.5. Some of the new fiberglass has gotten a little better, but still you need double the product to achieve the R value that you need. And not only that, the cost difference is quite large in materials themselves. So we can give you half as much product, bigger R values, and save you money on the install and save you a lot of money on your heating and cooling costs. So first place I would start if I was you is looking up in your attic, and if you only got 4 inches or 6 inches or even 8 or 10 inches of the rolled fiberglass or the blown pink or white product, you need insulation. And another good sign, living in Michigan, and we just went through a big snowstorm here, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And another good tell sign is simply looking at your home. Your home will tell you. If you pull in your driveway and you look up after 6 inches of snow a couple days later and you see that your gutters are full of ice and now you got icicles hanging down, that's caused from one thing. That's caused from simply a heat loss. Heat loss passes through your drywall. It goes up into your attic space. Now your attic space does not stay below freezing, so now the bottom layer of your snow on your roof melts. And you don't even know it, but the bottom layer of snow on your roof melts and starts running down the pitch of your home. Once we run down to the outside wall, where the outside wall meets your roof, we have no more heat in your overhang, so it just freezes. And as you keep having heat loss and you keep running water down to the ice, it just keeps building up till you get icicles that backs up your roof. And we've already had 3 or 4 calls this winter with people having roof leaks you know, and that was December, and it was, you know, 0 degrees, so you don't have a roof leak, you have a heat loss, and the ice is backed up far enough to where it actually has penetrated through your shingles and dripped down, and it's running down your outside walls. Every single time it'll be running running down your outside walls at the eaves where the ice had backed up. That's a lack of insulation, and also ventilation. With the proper ventilation, with the proper intake, air in, and the proper exhaust ventilation allows air in, that cold air in, it keeps moving, it keeps that attic space up above the insulation cool, stops the heat loss, and obviously, you know, an R49 in your attic keeps that heat down in your living space and not heating up your attic space. That helps a lot, and obviously your home can tell you a lot if you just know what you're looking for. If you have a lot of icicles, it's very simple. Give us a call. We can solve your problem with your icicles, and we can save you a lot of money on your consumer's bill. In the walls, we're estimating 27 to 30% of your heat loss is out your walls. Your windows that we talked about earlier is about 15 to 20% of your heat loss. But for the biggest part of your walls, it's 25 to 30%. There's only a couple products you can really use once your house is built, and it's not a new build no more. It's called a retro insulation job, so the house is already existing. There's only a couple products you can really use, and one is going to be an open cell foam. An open cell foam it's actually installed about the same way as a cellulose, and the foam has right around about a 3 to a 3.5 R value as well. And what you're going to do there, depending on the exterior of your house, if you have aluminum, vinyl, brick, vertical, whatever it may be for exterior siding, you know, most of the time people have the horizontal vinyl or the aluminum, and we'll take a piece of that off all the way around the house. Just below your windows, and we'll drill a 2-inch hole, and we'll run a 1-inch nozzle up the wall cavity. And what is very important when it comes to wall insulation is having the proper machinery. Today, you know, you could spend, you know, $500 on a machine up to $50,000 on a machine, and obviously the more you spend, the more control you have over that machine. So depending on what you have on the interior, if it's plaster or drywall, paneling, you know, different things like that, we can actually control our machines to pack that product extremely well. Obviously, if plaster's in there, we're cranking it up, and when we crank it up, we can make that material stay at the top forever. I just had a customer come in, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago that remodeled his bathroom, and my dad actually insulated this house like 50 years ago. I wish I had the picture right now, actually. He brought it in, and they pulled the plaster off of his walls, and he had the year, I think it was 1972, insulated by Frank Lampa State Building Company. And when he brought the picture in, he had the plaster off, and he had pulled all of the insulation out of the walls, and he thought to himself, wow, I need to take a picture of this and run that down there. And what I see in that picture, the cellulose was still at the very top of the wall cavity with zero settlement. He was extremely happy. And that was many years ago, before the machines were as good as they were today. But in his case, he did have the plaster, so we was able to really crank it up. So basically, we'll take the aluminum siding off or the vinyl siding off, whatever we have to do to get in there. We'll drill the 2-inch hole. When you run the tubes in, you just don't stick the tube in, which I see a lot of people just running tubes up through the fiberglass and fighting it and trying to shove it up and balling up the fiberglass, and it just don't work good. But all you really got to do is just dig through there with a screwdriver and get through that fiberglass, and then dig through the paper on the fiberglass and reach in there and pull it back, and then you start your tube on the back side of that, and you're able to run that tube right up between that paper on that fiberglass and the interior wall finish. And once you hit it, it collapses it, and it's amazing how easy that tube goes. You can feel that tube go all the way up and hit the top plate. At that time, you turn it on, the material just simply comes out and it falls down, and it simply packs. And then once it packs, and wherever our installers have that machine set, depending on what kind of interior finish wall you have, there's a clutch on the agitator that will shut that machine off. So that keeps us from blowing walls off on the inside, but it also allows us to pack it really good. So he'll pull it down a foot, give it a couple packs, and work his way out of that hole by removing it a foot at a time and packing. As he removes it a foot at a time, he'll turn it, he'll go down, and he'll do the same thing. The material's already down there, he's just packing it in place. So with that, we can get, you know, we can get an R11 on top of, you know, an R11 in fiberglass, because we're able to take the fiberglass and get that down to a 1/2 of an inch, and we're able to pack in over 3 inches on a standard 2x4 wall, giving you an R12 of cellulose. Another thing with cellulose, once it is put in place where fiberglass can't, is density. We're able to pack this material down with the machine and pack it really, really tight. And once we're able to pack that really tight, we create what's called a lot of density, and that is extremely important. I feel it's more important than R values is density, but you don't hear a lot about that. So as we pack it and we pull it out, we've created a very, very dense wall. Not only that, the sound deadening is phenomenal. We have people say by the end of the day, wow, the road noise is gone. We dealt with that for 30 years, you know. So not only do they get a much quieter house, they're going to save 30–40% on their consumer's bills in most circumstances. Same thing with the attic. Back to the attic for a minute. When we're blowing that attic, we're using a great big hose and we're pumping a lot of material. You know, if we sell you 10 inches, we're going to blow about 12, because when we're pumping that material so fast, it stays very loose like this. So over time, it is going to settle in your attic simply because of the way we're putting it in. We're not using a small tube like we would in your wall. We're using a big hose and we're moving a lot of product. So a 10-inch attic will actually be 12 the day we leave. And you go back up there in a year and you'll measure that, you'll have 10 inches. So that means that material went from 12 inches and went down to 10 inches. As it settled, it's filled all of the cracks next to your ceiling joists, and it settles down a couple inches, it becomes very dense. It becomes very dense. And as it's colder outside, we have an R value of 3.8, but actually when it's 0 outside and 70 inside, our R values of our cellulose actually increase, because our values are based on resistance to heat. That is simply how long can we keep heat inside of a structure. The longer we can keep the heat inside of a structure, the R values go up. So with the fiberglass, it will always stay loose in your attic like this. And you can't even blow it in your sidewalls. You can only use open cell foam or cellulose. When you blow the loose fill in your fiberglass in your attic, it will stay loose, never sinking down, becoming dense and cold, and the heat can pass through it quite rapidly. Well, in turns, you lose half your R value. Simply on the back of this, literature produced by Energy Control, which is our manufacturer's Energy Control, it has a little diagram here of loose fill cellulose versus loose fill fiberglass, and you probably can't see it, but we're starting right here with an R18 on R values in an attic, and you look over here, we got a temperature of -18, and the red is the blown fiberglass. We started with an 18. When it gets -18, it goes to a 9.2. So your R value is actually cut in half. Not only do you got to have twice as much to get the R value, but once it gets -18, which we do get, your R value is cut in half. Ours goes from an R18 up to an R20 because we're able to keep heat in longer, which in turn raises our R values. So density is important, the right product is important, and the reason why you use what you use where you use it is important. Still today, after 60 years, you call State Building Company to insulate your home, we're going to bring Energy Control cellulose. We're going to look in your attic and start there. We're going to look at your intake ventilation. We're going to look at your exhaust ventilation. There is codes that today in the Michigan Code Book you have to go by. All of our sales reps know these. They will check all that out, make sure we have good flow in, good flow out. That keeps that attic cool in the winter, so we're not melting that snow, creating them icicles. Then we're going to put in whatever R value we need on top of your existing insulation to get you to an R49 or greater, and we'll blow that. We will simply look at your walls. We got certain ways we can determine what you have in your walls and what you may need in your walls. If you need it, we're going to tell you. If you don't need it, we're going to tell you you don't need it. But this is a great thing to do to your home. It saves you money instantly. And in most cases, with the heat loss study we did 5 or 6 years ago, it was a 2-year payoff for a ranch style home to have its money back, which was the installation job. I believe it was $2,100 or $2,200. In 2 years, you had that back. In 2 years, you had an extra $2,000. So by far, the best thing you can do to your home is insulate. And by far, the best product you can use is cellulose. You know, so when it comes time and you want somebody to check it out, call State Building. State Building's been doing this for 60 years. We have great installers. We have knowledgeable sales staff that will actually analyze your home and figure out what it is you need. Well, that's not going to come and sell you cellulose or sell you insulation. We're going to determine how much you need and where you need it and why you need it. So that's a little bit of information on cellulose. I think that's going to do it for today, but I'll tell you what, pretty soon, next couple weeks, we'll get together and we'll do a little more discussion. Maybe we'll move into different styles of windows, maybe some doors and things like that. But once again, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to what I have to say about making your home a happy home. When you're ready to do that, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to see what we can do for you. Thank you.